What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the shop. Now in this video I'm going to build a router table. I made a makeshift one for this project that I was doing, this dovetail box, just to do the rebate on the plinth that goes around the box. It worked out quite well, so I said I'm going to build myself a little bit more of a permanent router table. I'm going to keep it nice and simple, nice and cost effective. It's literally just going to be a sheet of plywood and whatever I can find in the shop to make it. Now, you can put all the bells and whistles on it if you want. You can get all the T-tracks, you can make the fence with T-track in it, you can put T-track sliders for your fence to move up and down, you can get the inserts and all that. But I've priced all that stuff, and by the time you buy it all, you would have bought yourself an actual router table. So the whole point of this is to get a good functioning router table that only costs you a few screws and a sheet of plywood. So that's what we're going to attempt to do today. So without further ado, let's get on it. Right guys, this is what we're going to be using for our router table then. This is birch ply. It's a marine grade birch ply. It's 3/4 or 18 millimeters thick. So I'm going to be using this. Now I'm going to use the full width of the sheet, which is 4 foot or 1200 mil, just over 1200 mil for my actual router table. So that's going to be the width of my router table. That's going to be 600 then by 1200. So it'll be twice as long as it is wide for all the world. And I'm going to cut two pieces that size. I'm going to put them together, so it'll be just 36 mil thick. So we're going to double up on it, so 1.5 inches thick the top will be, and then we'll cut our fence exactly the same length. So it's nice just to use the board. We can dimension the board up. We keep everything the width of the board. It's just straight cuts across it, nice and simple. I've just clamped on my level to use as a straight edge. I'm just going to size down this board with the circular saw. These boards, they're kind of heavy, so just mind your back when you're moving them around. 3/4 ply sheet, carrying it on your own is quite awkward. It's just an awkward load more than it is heavy. So I just have it up on the saw horses now, and we'll just start stripping it down. I get a couple of sheets off it, that'll make it more manageable, and I can take it to the table saw then. So yeah, nice and simple. We'll make our first cut. This will do it for our straight edge to run our circular saw against, and yeah, it's pretty simple. Let's do it. Right, that's our two top pieces cut then. A bit of faffing about with the clamps. The clamps I was using were a bit tall. They were catching on the motor on the circular saw, so a couple of lower profile clamps just to clamp the straight edge sorted out that problem. So yeah, they will be laminated together now. So now this piece is a bit more manageable, so I'll take it to the table saw and I shall cut a couple of pieces to make our fence. Again, our fence is going to be the exact same length as our top. So again, it's just nice straight cuts off our board, keep everything nice and simple. And then we can do our cuts for what I'm going to use to mount it to the wall. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, I have most of my pieces now cut to size. This is my top now. I have just my two pieces screwed together just to flush trim the edges, so that's done. So this is the underneath of my router table top, and I'm going to be using this Triton router to fix to my top. And the beauty of the Triton routers is they have this quick release system which slots into these grooves here. And this is the fence that comes with it. So I'm going to screw this fence to the bottom of my router table, and it's going to act as a quick release system for my router, which is nice and handy. So what I need to do now is I've just marked this out dead center where I want my hole to be. So the center of my hole going through my table will obviously be here, and this will fit my table. So I need to cut this section out now because I don't want to mount it to the bottom of my second piece of plywood. I want to mount it to my top of my deck, my first piece of plywood. Otherwise it will be too far from the top. The router bit won't go all the way through and I won't be able to change my bits. It'll all become extremely clear now when I go to assemble this thing. I've also marked in 100 mil either side of this board, so I need to trim that off. So the sides of my router table are going to be in 100 mil. It's just because I'm going to use clamps for my fences on the edge, so I can't keep my side of my table out to the edge. It has to be stepped in a bit so there's an overhang. Again, this will all become extremely apparent when I go to assemble this thing. So next things next, I need to take this back apart, trim off these two sides and cut this section out here. Then I can reassemble and we can look at fitting this router and getting our recess cut out for our bits, and so we can change the bit in the router. So let's do that. It'll all become apparent. Let's rock on. Okay, this should make it a little bit more obvious. I have my two pieces now glued and screwed together. So you can see now that I have this fence recessed into the bottom of my table. So I cut a section out of this piece so it's fixed to the top piece of plywood. I've trimmed down both sides by 100 mil, so the sides of my router table now will come off here and my clamps then will have room to clamp. That's the idea. Now, next thing I want to do is drill through my center hole so I can see exactly where the center of my bit is going to be. And then what I want to do is take these discs off my Triton spindle sander, which are handy. They come in various different size holes, so they're all the same size disc, plastic disc with different size holes in them. So what I'm going to do is recess one of these into the top, and then I can change these out according as I'm doing different, or as I need different bits. And then if I want to change my bit, I can just pop this off. I'll have a nice big hole here, and yeah, so that's the idea. If I can get one of these to recess in. Now, I just have to find a way of making a template for this, or freehanding it maybe. So that's the next job. Let's do that. Okay, I have a test piece of plywood here. Just drawn my circle for that I want to fit in, and I'm going to try and freehand this and see if that's actually possible. Try and get it as neat as I can. So we'll see if this works. It'll just be a test piece. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So let's try it out. Yeah, so that is pretty close. It's not 100% perfect, so but it's not far off. So I'm going to have another little go with that now and see if we can get it right. Take our time a bit more with the edge. Hopefully we should be good. Definitely better anyway. That's a good fit. Okay, I think that's going to work. Right, let's do it for real. Pretty close. It's pretty close. There we go, guys. That's our recessed circle for our inserts. So that's going to work out perfectly. So if you happen to have one of those spindle type sanders, I'll show you before the video ends exactly what it looks like. If you're watching my videos, you've seen me use it a bunch of times before. You can see that it comes with various different size inserts. So all different size holes. It's actually perfect for a router insert, for all the different size bits. So yeah, and that freehanded worked out nicely. A couple of practice runs and Bob's your uncle. Now, I need to drill a hole down through the center of this, a fairly big hole, so that I can get my spanner into my bits. So something maybe this size, that might be a little bit on the big size. We might go a little bit more conservative than that. Let's see. We have a 54 mil here, so we can always widen it later if we need to, but yeah, that should be big enough for me to get a spanner down there. So let's drill that out. So that'll be our hole for our bit to come through. We'll be able to get our spanner then to change our bits, and then we can throw in different size inserts according as we need them for different size bits. So that works out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I need to make up the rest of this, sand this up. I'm going to sand the top, sand all the edges, get all these splinters cleaned up, and assemble the table, screw it to the wall, and then I'm going to work on the fence. So let's do that. Right guys, this is essentially the router table now. So I have the sides made, the back piece made, so you can see how they now go on. I have my overhangs either side that my clamps will go onto for my fence. So it's a case now of just glue and screw this together. Not much to it. Yeah, just glue and screw. So I'll get on with that now. And when I have that finished, I'll get back to you and we'll mount it to the wall. Okay, let's do that. Okay guys, that is where my router table is going to go. I'm going to fix it straight to the wall here, and I have a power point there. I have my shop vac, small shop vac there, so I can hook that up to it. So everything is next to my miter saw. It doesn't get in the way of my miter saw table or anything like that, so, and it's out of the way. So I'm just going to screw this thing to the wall now. Hopefully that should be enough support. I can always add supports later on, and I've left it big enough down underneath here so that if I want to build in a cabinet or some drawers or a place to store router bits and leads, whatever I need to store there, I can build that in later on. So yeah, let's screw this thing to the wall now and see if it works. Perfect level, happy days. These three-legged sawhorses are right handy. I've done a video building these. It's literally a couple of hours work. It's a nice little project for the weekend, and for doing things like this, they are ideal. So I'll leave a link up here if you want to go see how to make yourself some nice handy 2x4 or 4x2 sawhorses. So go check that out. Now let's get this thing screwed to the wall. Right, we are onto the fence. Now, those of you who have watched my video on my drill press table, you would have seen me do something very similar to this already. Obviously, this is a much bigger fence. This is 4 foot long, so it's the full width of the plywood, and it's the full width of the router table. So what we don't want on such a big fence is any flex or any movement. We want a perfectly straight face. That's the whole point of a fence. So we have plenty of brace pieces here. Just ensure that this bottom one, that this edge here is perfectly straight, as I have done, and I've checked it with a straight edge. It is perfectly straight, so we'll be screwing in front of our fence to that. We have plenty of brace pieces here. So these are just squares I cut on the miter saw and then just chopped them at 45, measured out 30 mil and just stuck a 45 on them. Very simple. For our center section then, I want some, to be able to attach my shop vac. So I'm going to take this over to the drill press table in a minute. I'm going to just take a hole out of here, top and bottom, and I've cut these two straight at 45. Here's a piece. I just put two 45-degree cuts in it. That will sit against my fence like that. Those two will screw either side to essentially make a box. Bit of silicone then to seal that up, and we'll drill a hole right here that we can stick our vacuum into. So that's that. And then it's a case of just glue and screw this together. It will be good and rigid. Now, if you're going to put T-track or something into your fence, you might want to put a double thick front on it, so 2 pieces of plywood. If you want to put a track in the top of it, I won't be putting a track in mine, so this will be good enough. Right, enough talk. Let's drill our holes in this. Right, I'm just going to drill straight through my fences. I have them clamped together now, so it's just going to be a straight hole straight through the two of these. This is a 68mm bit or a 2 11/16 bit. So nothing to this, just straight down through it. Right, the next hole I want to drill is in the back of this guy for my vacuum attachment. So we'll just line this up. Right about there. Lovely. Okay, my brace pieces now are all spaced where I want them. My center piece is all set up. So I've just marked the center line of each of these the whole way around, and I'll screw my fence together now, and I'll square these lines all the way around so I can see where I'm going to put all my screws. I'll countersink them all into the face and into the bottom, and that will be good enough. And yeah, it'll be glue and screw this whole thing together. So I'll get on that now, and I'll get back to you when it's done. Right, there we go. The router is now fit to the table, and the beauty of these Triton routers is they're designed to be used with an actual router table, so the quick attachment is great with the fence. And right here to hand I have the height adjustment. So there's 3 types of adjustment on this router. I've done a review of this router already. If any of you are interested in looking at that, I'll leave a link in the description, or it'll be up in the corner there. Just go check that out. They're a great router. But yeah, I have the coarse adjustment here, the fine adjustment here. So everything is to hand. So as I'm standing at the table, I can raise and lower this. It's right in front of me. Now, Triton also provide a rod that you can send down through the top of your router table. It attaches to this guy, and you can raise and lower it through the top of the router table. But I don't think I'll put that in just yet. It will require me to make an adaptation to the fence system. I'd have to drill another hole straight through that so that the rod could get onto this guy. But yeah, for now I think everything is just right there to hand. So I'll use it for a while. If I feel I need it, I'll install it. But for now, I think I'll leave it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's the top of the table with our fence on and all the different inserts. Another thing you need to make sure with your fence is that it's perfectly square to your top. And checking this with the engineer square all the way along, I am 100% square. Now, like I say, you could install T-track into this and clamp your fence that way, but T-track is just clamps anyway, so I'm just going to use 2 nice bar clamps either side, put my fence in place and then clamp it down. It gets good and solid. I've used it on a drill press, no issues whatsoever. And again, this is a nice cheap alternative. You have some clamps. It's literally just cost you the few screws and a sheet of plywood, and you have a functioning router table. Now, you can attach your router how your router needs to be attached. You can screw down through the top. If you don't happen to have inserts like these, I'll just show you the machine that these came off. So that's a Triton spindle sander. You can see that there. So the inserts just go around the various size drums, so they're just handy. They will work for this router table. But there's nothing stopping you guys cutting in a square piece of plywood here with a circular hole in the center of it and using that as your insert. You can use like a 6mm ply, a 1/4 inch ply. Just cut it out a square and stick it in, recess it in. That would just work just as well. And if it ever gets damaged, it's easily replaced. But the fact that I have these guys on a machine sitting there, they're perfect for this application. So it's kind of a dual use, which is good. And for different size bits, I can put on different size collets or different size covers. Yeah, you know what I mean. So nice and simple. So there's not much else to do now, only test this thing out, I suppose. Let's give it a blast. Perfect. Nice and straight. Let's change out the bit and see how that goes. Right, there we go. That is one router table complete for the price of a sheet of plywood. €65 for a piece of 3/4 marine birch ply. I'm not sure how much it would be in dollars or in pound sterling, but it wouldn't be much more or much less. So yeah, how bad? You have a 4-foot router table, good, sturdy, strong, for 65 quid. You can't go too far wrong there in my book. Now, this one, I will add legs to the front of it. It is dependent on the OSB for its support, so you can see there's a little bit of a wobble in it there. So drop 2 legs off the front of it and it will be good and sturdy. I'll also put maybe 2 little shelf systems or 2 little cabinets either side as well, just for storing all the router paraphernalia. It can sit there underneath my new router table. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, guys. It's good, solid, strong and sturdy and cheap, and it works well. So hopefully that's been helpful to you. Hopefully it inspires you to go make your own stuff, guys. I mean, it's so much cheaper than buying it when you do it like that. And down the road, if you want to add all the bells and whistles, you can. You can cut a T-track into your fence for stop blocks and feather boards. You can put a T-track across this way, again, for feather boards if you need to put them in. T-tracks up and down for your fence system. Again, it's only a case, it takes 5 minutes to route them in. It's very, very simple, so you can add as you go. But to get you started, all you need is screws, glue, and a piece of plywood. Router table. Happy days. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, guys, and I shall see you in the next one. Take it easy.